What's up, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite New York Jets subscription podcast, Badlands. I'm your host, Joe Caporoso, joined as always by Connor Rogers. Fresh off recording a nice little nostalgia Q&A war room. We were talking top 5 Jets of all time. We were talking best players in the drought. We were talking Chris Ivory and Eric Decker. We were all over.
Harder than you think, by the way.
Harder than you think. Some big challenges in there. And we are queuing up another rewatchable on the War Room feed for next week. So it's a great time to upgrade because there's a lot of video content flowing through there. Connor, how you doing? How you feeling?
Great. I was about to say middle of June. It's almost the middle of June. This is the true, it all goes quiet for a little bit here soon. You see the Jets doing some media shoots and they've been practicing for OTAs, but they'll shut it down. Everybody gets to kind of go home or do whatever they want to do. And before you know it, we'll be firing on all cylinders for training camp. So it's knock on wood. It's always good when it's a quiet OTA. Like the only reason things get loud during OTAs is one, somebody got hurt, somebody retired, or if somebody's not happy. And besides Hassan Reddick, which you'd have to imagine just kind of sorts itself out, it's nice when the Jets have a quiet spring.
Yes, it's been, Reddick aside, blissfully quiet. I think,
which is Salah's fault, by the way. Like, can we just say that? And
did not handle it well. Here we are in year 4.
I like Robert Saleh.
Say less.
Like, just terrible media-ing. I mean, terrible. Like, you could have just all you do when the reporters ask you about a guy that's not there, you go, he's got his own plan. He's handling that where he is. We've been in touch, and veterans like that, they are a little better sticking with their routine than throwing, a stick of dynamite in the middle of it to come out here and work on what we're doing.
Yeah.
And instead it was like, we haven't talked to him. We don't know where he is. We
don't even know if he's in the country. Haven't seen him.
Yeah, it was like Mike Goodson, right?
Yeah,
Mike Goodson disappeared.
Like Dimitri Patterson.
Yeah. Dimitri Patterson.
They both disappeared.
Oh, God.
So, yes, it's like, let's relax. It's June. If it's late July and we're still talking about this, you'll see us start to panic a little bit. It's not time to panic. They're going to sort it out. I believe they're going to sort it out. But yes, Saleh, little kerosene on the fire that was unnecessary. Also, June is officially Brant Boyer month because the Jets just added Jakeem Grant for a tryout. They brought Tariq Cohen in for a tryout. They're just signing kick returners. They drafted a couple running backs who are going to rotate through. Boyer's just out here bringing every special teamer in. He's going to be rotating through kick returners, so he's having the time of his life in OTAs. Also, the jerseys look great. It's nice to see them in the jerseys. Again, I'm going to keep being reminded about how nice they are. But I think generally, besides some of these funky tryout players, and I still think when it's all said and done, like Gibson will be the main returner, and maybe they'll use the running backs in some fun situational spots. I'm not fully sold one of these tryout guys are going to take the job, but I could be wrong. I'm glad it's been quiet. Now, we got, and at this time of the year, these rumors are going to fly. Got a prompt from Boy Green off Albert Breer, who floated out a trade idea to Rich Eisen between the Jets and 49ers. Jets receive wide receiver Debo Samuel. San Francisco receives a 2025 first-round pick. So, week 1 opponent. We know Debo has been kind of unhappy for a little bit. We know the Jets almost traded for him the year they drafted Garrett Wilson. We also know Brandon Ayuk's a little unhappy, and he's a name that we mentioned that might sit out week 1 or the Jets could go after. Now, in a vacuum for this trade, I love Debo. I do feel like at this stage, that might be overpaying a little bit for the Jets, giving up a first-round pick. I don't think they really need to do that. And my counter to it is that Debo, one, I think the cost would be less, but I still think, and maybe this is just fan nonsense or hopium, and I don't even know if I fully agree with it, I still think they're probably going to end up with Davante Adams with an in-season trade. I think they intentionally loaded up draft picks next year. They have 2 threes. I think the Raiders are going to start off poorly. I think the Jets are going to need receiver help at some point. And I just feel like this has been like a year and a half of like circling around, and they're just going to flip the Raiders like a 2 and a 3 or 2 threes and get him like early in the season. And that's like a big blockbuster move. But there's rumors they were in on Justin Jefferson a little bit, doing diligence, add him to the almost Jet list. I feel like that's where their head's at. Now, does that mean the trade actually happens? But I think that's what they're keeping in their back pocket. And there's a reason that with Aaron Rodgers in this 2-year window, They're loaded up with draft picks for next year. Have their full collection of picks. Have multiple picks in round 3. I also, again, back to the top, like, I'm not sure you're trading a first rounder for Debo right now. It feels like with how he plays, you're going to start to really see that attrition, which was a big issue for him in the playoffs last year. What do you think?
I think hell no, not even close. I mean, when you dive in right now, the Niners are the ones in a weird spot, wide receiver money wise. Brandon Ayuk is going to get a giant heaping amount of cash. Just look at the deals that are rolling in over the last couple months, and CeeDee Lamb still has to get his. So Ayuk's owed a ton of money. They know what's coming because they drafted Ricky Pearsall in the first round. So what they're telling you is, I think they would love to get out of that Debo money for a guy that, let's be honest, Debo peaked in 2021 at 25 years old. He had his first and only 1,000-yard receiving season. Debo Samuel, this year's his cap number is $28.6 million. Next year's cap number is $24.2 million. You're taking on a lot of that money if you trade for him. Just since 2021, here are Debo's injury history from 2021 until now. And there's a lot before 2021. In August 2021, thigh glute strain. November, leg calf strain. Middle of November, leg shin bruise. End of November, groin strain. January, knee strain. Then the next season, in October, thigh hamstring sprain, pull. December, ankle sprain and a knee MCL sprain. Then last year, shoulder scapula fracture in October, and February, thigh hamstring sprain, pull. He's had multiple injuries, multiple noteworthy injuries all of the last 3 years.
Yep.
And his
own anxiety hearing this list right now.
I know, like, these websites' projections are like whatever. This Draft Sharks fantasy injury projector has his chance of getting hurt in 2024 at 86.6.
Oh my God.
Listen, Debo Samuel, awesome player. Really unique, fun. You don't trade for a 28 going on 29-year-old, very expensive Debo Samuel. And if you do not give up a first round pick. So I know it's like just totally, like pissing in someone's Cheerios, that rant, but I just think we need to get better about these rants. And like, before you, like, there's cap involved, there's injury involved, there's situation involved. The Jets are not in a bad cap place. The Jets are also not in a good cap place. I am thinking about, with the Jets salary cap, how do we keep Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, Breece Hall, Elijah Vera Tucker? Like, how do we keep the good young players we have that aren't hurt yet before we take on guys going on the wrong side that are already hurt and very, very expensive? So I'm with you, Joe. If you're going to make the move, I would go get a more traditional wide receiver that is Davante Adams. And I have to look it up, but Davante's contract in a weird way might be I wouldn't call it more friendly.
It's starting to trickle towards the end of it, I feel like. And it's basically like, is there a way where, and
the guarantees run out after this year.
Yeah. Like, you're doing the move for the rest of this season and maybe
see what happens
the year after. Like, it's your 2 years with Rodgers, and that's it. And like, that's very much like, look, that move happens if the Jets are 4-1 and the Raiders are 1-4. And the Jets are like, oh shit, like, we're really going to go for it this year. Like, we think we can win the AFC. And like, we're not going to leave anything to chance. And look, look, Raiders, like, you could get some draft capital for him now, or you could lose him for nothing. And he's probably not happy at that point. So let's get it done. And I feel like we've been talking. It's like, why not? Makes sense for both sides.
Davante at 31 rolls out of bed into 1,200 receiving yards.
Yes, especially with Garrett Wilson opposite of him, and how that both of them would benefit from that arrangement. Never mind Mike Williams or Malachi Corley or Breece Hall and everything else you have going on. So he's going to be the quarterback he knows and trusts, and in a big spot. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And they still need a receiver, again, because we're way too close to Allen Lazard playing 48 reps week 1 and me and you having like anxiety attacks on air about it. All right. Second question here that's timely and topical-ish from Nova. Which players do you predict will break Jets team records this year, and which records will they break? So there's two that come to mind for me that line up to a lot of what we've talked about. I think Jets passing records are pretty light touch. Now, Namath.
Please take them, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,